The UN World Food Programme has dispatched 47 trucks with humanitarian aid to the troubled northern Tigray region of Ethiopia. The 17-month conflict between government forces and the Tigray People's Liberation Front, TPLF, has created a humanitarian crisis in northern Ethiopia and sparked famine fears in Tigray, which has for many months been under what the UN describes as a de facto blockade. Zakaria Salalem is a freelance journalist with a focus on Ethiopia, and he joins us now. Welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me.
Can you tell us about the latest movement of the convoy? Has it reached its destination?
So the World Food Programme has not issued any communiques confirming its arrival. It confirmed that the convoy was en route yesterday, something like 15 hours ago, so we're expecting it to arrive anytime in the coming hour or two. The convoy of 47, if it safely arrives in Tigray, it would make the total amount of trucks of life-saving humanitarian aid to have arrived in Tigray at 70 since the announcement of a truce between the Ethiopian government and Tigrayan forces in late March. That truce has not led to the escalation of humanitarian aid deliveries, as aid agencies estimate that at least 100 trucks need to be delivered to the region on a daily basis to address the very dire humanitarian situation there, and only 3% so far of that total has arrived in the past 3 weeks. So, not far from adequately addressing the famine on the ground in Tigray.
Yes, as you mentioned, this is not the first convoy of aid. Another one reached there last weekend, but the situation is very troubling. How many people are estimated to be at risk of starvation?
So the United States estimated that something like 900,000 people were already exposed to famine, but they made this estimation way back in June of 2021. The World Food Programme estimates that something like 80% of the Tigray region, 6 or 7 million strong population, are facing extreme food shortages of some sort. So that puts millions on the brink of starvation, and there's estimates that dozens to as many as 50 are dying of hunger on a daily basis. So the arrivals of food convoys, they are promising, considering that the food convoy that arrived last week that you mentioned was the first deliveries to have been made to the region since December. So although there have been some movements to lift the Ethiopian military enacted blockade, it's still far from addressing the dire situation on the ground.
How about other regions or other states, such as Afar and Amhara, who also have a food crisis?
Well, the Amhara region, for its part, is not being impacted by a blockade of any sort. So aid organizations, journalists, even human rights activists have been able to travel to the region and have been able to gain unfettered access since Tigrayan troops were forced out of the region back in December of 2021. And the Afar region, for its part, has entire districts still under the control of Tigrayan forces who are accused of shelling villages and towns across the region. The Tigrayan forces have withdrawn from the Erepti district, so from some of the territories that they controlled in the Afar region, but they do still patrol others which remain out of the reach of humanitarian aid agencies. And something like 300,000 people have been displaced from the Afar region. It still does pale in comparison to the humanitarian crisis and starvation in Tigray.
Thank you very much.
Dire situation.
Thanks, Zakaria Salalem, freelance journalist with focus on Ethiopia.
Now, not only is war affecting Ethiopia and impacting on that humanitarian crisis, it's drought too, which is affecting the whole of the East African region, particularly